have a fruitful day.
All right, thanks. You can have a seat. Cool. So, how many of you all were on the Wednesday Zoom call? All right, how many of you all were on the Thursday Zoom call? All right, cool. So we have the Zoom call cohort. All right, so we have an exciting day today. We're going to go through more of the logistics of the day because there's going to be a little bit of a move around. But the essence of today is that you've seen now 40 different careers and you've chosen ones that you are more interested in. And so the ones that got the most votes are the ones who are coming here today. Some of the people who you voted for are abroad, which means that we do have Zoom links both here and in the AV room so that you could hear from the guys who are outside as well. Right? So today is all about you. Today is all about you asking questions, trying to understand a little bit more about the different types of careers that are out there. I do want to quickly pay some recognition to the people who helped make today possible, the team, and also the sponsors. So today you're going to have snacks and drinks, and you're going to walk away with a swag bag of different items. You have pens and notebooks and whatnot, and these are the companies here that have helped us out today and during the course of this week. Yeah. So this is an event that's hosted both by the Past Students Union and the Parent Teacher Support Group. So I just want to say briefly a couple of things about those groups. It's important that you understand. As soon as you leave St. Mary's, you will automatically become part of the Past Students Union. The Past Students Union this year, the school celebrates 160 years, but the Past Students Union celebrates 90 years. The Past Students Union of CIC is older than Fatima College. And the Past Students Union is there for multiple reasons: to support the school in what the school does, support you as students, staff, and the whole ecosystem of a school. The committee that I am on and that Greg is on and Sean and these guys here, Eric, who are here today, we're part of a committee called the Student and School Affairs Committee of the PSU. So we do things around universities, around careers, around life skills. We had a car care last year. Some of you may have seen that. Financial skills session, relationship skills for Form 1. We do a range of things throughout the year, what I've learned. Sean has, amazing alumni come and talk about their life stories and stuff like that. So we do stuff throughout the year of the school, and the PSU would also do things to do with fundraising. So Fete with the Saints, Dining with the Saints is coming up in a few weeks' time. These are the kind of events that the PSU typically would have been involved in or is involved in to help raise funds that pay for AC. All of the alumni here today sat in this hall sweating for 5 to 7 years, and you all are here in this AC. The PTSG, the Parent Teacher Support Group, is a group of parents and teachers who come together to do things for the school. They meet monthly, and the PTSG members are here today. Some of the parents of people are here today that actually make stuff happen in the school as well. So they're very integral to many of the events and activities for the school, and they were integral to what we're doing here today. So that's a little bit about the PSU, a little bit about the PTSG. I just want to show you a little bit about the agenda for today. So Greg is going to come in a little bit and just explain the logistics of moving around and the groups and stuff like that, but we'll do that afterwards. So what's happening now? So the principal will come in a bit. Once he arrives, he's going to want to address you as well. And then what we have today is a short feature speaker, which is Minister Stuart Young. So he's the Minister of Energy. He's also a minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, and he is a past student of St. Mary's College. He's a lawyer by training. So he's going to come and give a quick presentation. Feel free to ask him questions and whatnot. And then we're just going to go for the people who are online. How many people are online who think they are here to collect a prize today because they answered a question online? How many people are expecting prizes today? I see one. All right. Well, a few of you, we have at least 4 or so of you who did respond to questions online. We have a small prize given, but we also have a lot more prizes. And those prizes will come because or when you ask good questions today. Right? It's all about you asking questions today. I shouldn't say good questions. You could ask triple questions. And then we will go to the sessions. So the sessions will be both here and in the AV room. You will have to choose based on your interest. We'll show you the panelists. We'll show you who they are, what kind of careers they did. They're roughly sciencey on one side, and there's sort of business and modern on another side. But you kind of choose based on who you want to hear from, and you do that twice. So there are two of these panels. And then what we do, we come back to the hall. We just have some closing remarks, thanks, etc. And then the swag bags towards the end, you can get. In the middle of the two panel sessions is, hey, come on. I think that's the feature speaker reached there. So in the middle of the two panel sessions, you'll have the opportunity to come back and pick up a snack, pick up a drink. So if it is that you head over to the AV room for a session, and your second session is also in the AV room, you might just want to walk back, pick up a drink and a snack, and then head back over there. We'll deal with that as it comes. So with if I could ask you all to just stand so we could welcome the minister. All right, so guys, have a seat. So impeccable timing. So we were just giving them the rundown to the day. You can sit there, you can stand. I'll give you this mic up to you. We're gonna start with you in a second. So as I mentioned, guys, we have a great opportunity here with an alumni, a distinguished alum of the school. Minister Young. Minister Young is the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries. He's also a minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, and has held a range of portfolios prior to that as well. So we want you to, again, pepper him with the kind of questions that you've been peppering the guys over the last 2 Zoom calls. The floor is yours, basically. The floor is his, but the floor is really yours today. So I just want to welcome and just thank the minister for taking time out of the Saturday morning to be with us here today.
Good morning. And you know, I was thinking this morning, how do you start off addressing the boys in white and blue? And it has to be a razataza, zim boom ba, St. Mary's, a ra ra ra. But you all don't know the song or what? Eh? Come on, St. Mary's. Good morning, boys, to teachers and to the parents who are putting this together. It's indeed a pleasure and a privilege to come here back to my old alma mater to address you all. It has changed. When I was here, you had no air condition. So literally the chairs are the same, sitting there and sweating. I was in St. Mary's College a long time ago. All right? And you all are in what form? 3? 3, so you're choosing your subjects now. So just to give you a little bit of brief background, in my view, you're in the best school in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And you all have a tradition to uphold, because St. Mary's College has produced leaders in our country time and time again. So as I look around at your faces, I am sure that as you all progress through life, you too are going to take up the leadership of our country. And that's something you need to take very seriously. There is no way when I was sitting where you all were sitting, I had any clue how my life was going to unfold. I was teasing Mr. Raja. He was the Dean of Form 3 when I was there. I was in 3A, which Form 3 used to be directly behind this hall on that corridor there. As a Form 3, I used to look forward to when we could sit upstairs in assembly. That's still what, Form 6? Right? And these types of things. You all are at a stage of your life now where you have to choose subjects. These subjects are going to guide you through the rest of your life. So just to give you a bit of my experience, when I was in Form 3, I didn't know what I wanted to go on and to do. But I chose the business subjects along with geography and history. So I did POA, POB, economics, geography, history. Well, you had to do English language, literature, math, and then I think social studies at the time. And I chose those business subjects and they played a good role for me later on in life. I then went on to study law at the University of Nottingham. For Form 6, I did economics, management of business, accounting, and GP, general paper at the time. And that helped me in the practice of law, the choice of business subjects. And it's given me an advantage, I think, throughout my legal career because I understood business. And very often you have people who want to study law and they don't understand business. So all they're doing is reading the legal cases and the books and they're not understanding the principles. The geography and history also gave me a good grounding. I didn't do sciences. So it really depends on what you want to go on and do. Now in my career within the last few years, I've met and worked with a lot of engineers. So you have to have science for engineering. I think the main point is when you're choosing your subjects, choose something that you enjoy. All right, that's it for me. Very often our parents will try to guide us along the lines of what they think we should do. You listen to the advice. But if you really feel passionate about subjects, choose those subjects because it's going to help you to do better. I went on to read law at Nottingham. I went on to get called to the bar in London to Gray's Inn and then returned to Trinidad as a barrister, 21 years old, and did the 6-month conversion course at Hugh Wooding Law School to practice law in Trinidad and Tobago. Started at a law firm, only worked there for a couple of years because I always wanted, well, I'm independent, I always want to work for myself, so I worked for myself from 2002 all the way to 2015 when I got into politics. I never ever dreamt that I would be in politics, never. I always thought I'd go on to be a judge and that is how I'd give public service. But at the time, Dr. Rowley, who was the leader of the opposition, asked me whether I would be prepared to serve by just being a temporary senator. That seemed innocuous enough and it seemed as it was harmless, but I felt if you're called upon to serve your country, you have to give service. You can't be somebody, and very often Trinidadians and other people in other countries do. They sit down home and they complain about everything. All right? Everything is the government ain't doing this, the government not doing that, I don't have this, I don't have that. But what are you doing to make it better? And that's what drove me. So I figured temporary senator, okay, I could do that. It snowballed very quickly. Before I knew it, I'd gone up for a general election in 2015. PNM, as you all would know, won in 2015. I was put into the office of the Attorney General, and very shortly, I had a close working relationship with the Prime Minister, so he also made me a minister in the office of the Prime Minister. And that portfolio, really, people don't recognize it for what he has created it for me. It means I can go anywhere in government. So throughout, from 2016 to now, I've always held the portfolio of minister in the office of the Prime Minister, and it means I have the authority of the Prime Minister to go anywhere, to go and get involved in education, in public utilities, in national security, in finance, anywhere he needs me to go to fix something, I go. I then became the Minister of Communications, added to that, so it's 3 portfolios. Minister in the Office of the Attorney General, Legal Affairs, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Minister of Communications. Then dropped Office of the Attorney General, I became Minister of National Security. So I had National Security, Communications, and Office of the Prime Minister. We then dropped Communications while the Prime Minister, and it was National Security, Office of the Prime Minister, until the former Minister of Energy, Franklin Can, passed away, and then I moved into Energy. So it's now Minister of Energy and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. And it has given me tremendous experience. I still do it, sometimes reluctantly, because I'm concerned about children like yourselves. I have 2 young boys, and I'm concerned about where Trinidad and Tobago is going to go. One of the things I'm very proud about is when you look at those who have led our country from the time of independence to now, you always have CIC boys inside of there. So when you are sitting here, you can't project yourselves on how your future is going to be. There's no way. anybody could know. I didn't know I was going to do law. I wanted to do accounts. But I used to argue a lot. So my father said, I want you to have a university education. So I said, okay, I'll go and do law. In my second year of law in England, I was ready to drop out. I was homesick, I was missing home, and I was wondering, it was very difficult, why am I doing this? And I said, you know what, my parents said, stick it out, at least get your law degree, because it's a good foundation degree for what you could do later on in life. You don't have to go on to be a lawyer. Fortunately, I stuck it out, I went on to become a barrister, and that's what I love. Standing up in a court and arguing cases to create law. My career has taken a different turn now. As I say, I didn't think I'd be in politics. I still consider myself not a politician, even though I'm in it for 8 years, going on 9 now. But at least now what I'm doing is I'm using whatever talents I have, and a lot of it was formed right here in St. Mary's College. I was in Altar Boys, I was in 6th Trinidad Sea Scouts, I swam for the school, played tennis, played cricket, I was laughing as I drove in the big yard. This whole building wasn't here when I was there. So we used to hit sixes over in St. Joseph Convent Yard when we played cricket. You can't do that anymore. And playing football, so the sports. Always try and play sports or physical activity. That's helped me throughout life. It keeps your brain fit. And you don't know where you're going to be, but you have a good foundation coming out of St. Mary's College. And I really have to tell you all, I look at you all with a sense of pride, seeing the white and blue. So the decisions you make now are going to influence you in the rest of your life, but it's not going to pigeonhole you into the rest of your life. Because you could go on to study whatever it is you want, but you have to put in the work and the effort now to get the good grades. Again, studying is not the be-all and the end-all. You have to be open to whatever comes along the way. The world is changing very, very quickly on us. When I went off to university, there had no internet, there had no email. So I remember in my first year at university, second year at university, you have to sign up on a sheet to go to the computer lab, and you get 15 minutes to email. And you could only email people in Trinidad who had email. And look how the internet is now. You all take that for granted. We're seeing AI and all these things very quickly expand on us. Social media is influencing the world more than traditional media and these types of things. So you all are in a very dynamic point of your life. And what you have to do is really take to heart the principles you've learned here at CIC, St. Mary's College, from your teachers and from your peers, and carry that forward. So I wish all of you all of the best. Good luck. I look forward to you all leading the country in the future. You have a great tradition that should not be underemphasized. You've produced a lot of good leaders, and the country needs leadership to continue taking us forward. So I mean, some of the stuff I've learned here, the confidence, the ability to think, the ability to make decisions, have helped throughout as I've sat. I was thinking about the opportunities. I've sat in meetings with the President of China, had lunch with President Biden, met with Vice President Kamala Harris, very often meet with President Maduro, who is the President of Venezuela, all of the CARICOM leaders, all of the Prime Ministers, Mia Motley, Andrew Holness in Jamaica, and to be on a first name basis with them and carrying our white and blue forward as we formulate world policy. So in energy now, that's what I've been doing over the past few years. So just last week on Monday and Tuesday, I was in Washington, D.C. at meetings at the White House, and then meetings with congressmen, meetings at their State Department. So don't underestimate how small we are in Trinidad and Tobago, but how big our voice is. And it all comes down to your personal reputation and credibility. Always remember that. If there's one thing to take away from this morning, you make choices for yourself and understand your choices have consequences. And for me, the most important thing is your personal integrity and your reputation. People could say whatever they want about me, they could throw all the slurs they want, but I know wherever I am, walking into a meeting with the CEO of Shell, second largest oil and gas company in the world, or BP, etc. It's my personal reputation and credibility that gets me to speak to these leaders. And whenever I say something, they know it's the truth. That's what you all have to strive for. Because no matter how many letters you have behind your name, what office you hold, it's all about your personal integrity and how you carry yourself and always tell the truth. I am also, the second thing I'll tell you, I am a great believer that office is temporary. So many of you will go on very later on in your life to hold office. You could be the CEO of a company, the CFO, you could be a minister, you could be a president of something, whatever. Always remind yourself that is temporary. I see too often people get caught up in their titles and they feel that I am now the CEO, I am bigger than life. When you see that office leaves you, it's a sharp fall. I am prepared now to walk out of office with my head held high, and it would not bother me because I did my best when I was there. By definition, an office is temporary. Always remember that. Never get carried away with office. Because think about it, somebody will come after you. So, okay, now I was a Minister of National Security. There's a Minister of National Security there. I'm the Minister of Energy today. Tomorrow there may be another one. So never get caught up in offices. How do I carry myself during the time that I am privileged enough to be in that office? And you learn those principles right here at St. Mary's College, right? So I've spoken enough. Thanks for your attention. And I'll take questions, I guess, at this stage. All right, you all are good audience. No questions? Okay, good. So the question is, he is looking to study law later on. He did similar subjects. Why do any good universities? University of West Indies is one of the best for law. Alright, you could study it now at St. Augustine or at Cayville in Barbados. They have a great law degree. Benefit of it that I missed out on is you form camaraderie with all your West Indian students, and that becomes useful later on in your career because you can pick up the phone. All their partner in Barbados, you all have any new cases on this or in Jamaica, etc. So UE is a good start. English law is what we practice in Trinidad. The American system is very different, so this is something you have to bear in mind. You can't do a law degree as your first degree. So you have to do a bachelor's or something, a first degree, and then you go on to do law, so it's a lot longer. And then also it's a very different practice of law. The cases wouldn't be applicable in Trinidad. So think about that if you're thinking about going to the United States. You will be, in my view, at a disadvantage doing an American law degree if you want to come back and practice in Trinidad. In the United States, I mean the Ivy Leagues, Harvard, Columbia, Stanford, all of those are big names, but you would find there are other good law schools in the United States. In England, I mean, you have your Cambridge, you have your Oxford. I went to the University of Nottingham at the time. You had Bristol, you have the universities in London, LSE, London School of Economics, King's College, UCL. So you really, it depends when you reach that stage. You just go, fortunately, now you can Google. In my days, you have to wait for the Times to publish a list in the newspaper of the top universities for law, and you have to go to the UK High Commission and see the newspapers there to see what are good universities. So you have time. I would suggest if you're thinking of going outside, think about the United Kingdom because it would be a lot easier transition, but UE is also a great option. Anyone else?
Sir, if you would like to go into being a politician or you want to get a job in the government, you would have to get a job in the ministry and then climb the ranks or something, or if like the government is called for people.
Government is what?
Or if it is called for people to become new.
That's a good question. It's two separate things, all right? The government will always be around. So ministries will always be around. That's what you call the public service. So you enter the public service and you could work your way up in the public service. So for example, you could enter the public service in national security, but as you go up the ranks, you could get transferred to Ministry of Education, Ministry of Energy. That's how it works. The public service is all of the ministries. The highest level you could reach in the public service is what we call a permanent secretary. So a permanent secretary is really like the CEO of each ministry, and a minister is like the chairman of the ministry. So a minister is a political appointment. To form the government, you have to have the majority in parliament. We have 41 seats in Trinidad and Tobago, 2 in Tobago, and 39 in Trinidad. So I am Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. This school is actually in my constituency. So you have 41 constituencies, and you go up in an election to get elected as the member of parliament for one of those 41 constituencies. Whichever party has the majority of the 41 forms the government. The prime minister is the leader of the party who will then choose his ministers. So to become a minister would really be determined by each prime minister and what he or she is looking for in people out there. I was never involved in politics. When I went to the Senate as a temporary senator, I wasn't even a member of the PNM. All right? And then I joined because at the time I could align myself with the principles that I believe the party has. And I was very frustrated with the state of the country because of the corruption that was taking place. You also, so that's the House of Representatives, 41 members who are elected. Under that or above that, depending on how you look at it, there's something called the Senate. The Senate has 39 members, 19 of which are appointed by the Prime Minister, 9 that we call independent senators who are appointed by the President, and then 6 who are appointed by the leader of the opposition. And those are the 2 houses that make up the parliament. To be a minister, you either have to be an elected member of parliament or a senator. So you don't really work towards being a minister, although I guess there may be people out there who that's their dream, but it really is you're either a senator, so the prime minister has called you to be part of the Senate so he can make you a minister, or you're an elected member of parliament, and then the prime minister appoints you to a minister. I think somebody else over on this side had, no?
Okay, so would you say you would have been able to become a politician without studying or follow up? Is that the best way to become a politician? Because a lot of them are lawyers and they study.
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm smiling and laughing because very often when I sit in the house on a Friday during a debate, I wonder how many really went to school. All right? And I'll tell them that to their face, as I often do on a Friday. You don't have to study anything to become a politician. Being a politician is about service to country. All right? And there's a calling, I guess, where you're called to serve by a leader. So for example, Dr. Rowley, his doctorate is in volcanology. He did a PhD in studying volcanoes and he's a geologist. The Minister of Finance, Colum Imbert, who went here to Form 6, he's a civil engineer. But yes, a lot of lawyers do go on to get into politics because in the House and in the Senate, what you do there is you make law. All right, that's what you call the legislature. So what you're really supposed to be doing in the House of Representatives and the Senate is making law. So being a lawyer helps because you interpret law, you use law. But you have doctors as well. Your Minister of Education, she has a doctorate in biology. You have Lisa Morris Julian, the Junior Minister of Education. She's a teacher. You have a mix of people. Kennedy Richards, the MP for Point Fortin, he's a pilot. So you don't have to study anything to be a politician. If you want to give service and you want to get into politics, I guess you could join a political party, move your way up the ranks. And that brings me to one point I'd just like to make to you all. You all, as I told you, have choices to make. You see the choice to vote? Don't underestimate that. Because many countries in the world, people still can't vote freely. And each one of you, you're in Form 3 now, so in a few years' time, you'll have the opportunity to vote. Use that seriously and go and vote. You need young people to come out and vote. Your voices are to be heard. You all have a right to say how you want things to look, how you want things to run. In my view, if you don't vote, you don't really have a say. Because that's a minimum contribution. So you're going to sit at home and complain and quarrel about this and that. But at least go and vote for who you want. So to get into politics is a calling. Maybe later on in life you don't have to study any particular subject whatsoever. As I say, there have a few of them there. I wonder if they've studied anything. And that is a door that's open to you later on in life.
All right, I think we may have.
Okay, so the question is how to form your own political party. And I'll try and answer that very diplomatically. Literally, from a legal point of view, you go to the EBC. There forms, the EBC is the Election and Boundaries Commission, which is on Frederick Street, right opposite the school on Frederick Street. And there forms you fill out, and you could form a party. There have been, I think the last count is over 60-something political parties in Trinidad and Tobago. The only one that has withheld and stood the passage of time from day one, when Eric Williams founded the party, to now is the PNM. The PNM is the only party that has gone for every election and fielded candidates in all. So by all means, I will bring the form for him. Let him fill out the form, let him bring it. We go to the polls and he loses his deposit.
Test. Fantastic. So guys, if you could just give a round of applause to Minister Young.
Thank you, James. Fellas, just remember, as Dr. Eric Williams said, and it is a truism, the future of the nation is in your school bags. The future of our nation, residing right here with you all at St. Mary's College. Take what I've told you seriously, at least on a couple fronts. Personal responsibility. Don't get caught up in office. And just continue to fly the flag very high for St. Mary's College. Thank you all for your time this morning. I really appreciate it.
We just have a quick... Just have a very brief presentation, if you don't mind, of some tokens. So there are two PBS sponsored tokens for our speakers, which we share with you. But we also two quick things. The most important would be your stripes. And let's get the cup. Yeah. And then the second most important thing is when you go to a cabinet meeting, you need to fill the coffee, the CIC coffee mug, and stamp it on the table. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Minister Stuart Young, Honorable, parents, students. I remember this young man. And while he was here, he made a footprint. And that's why you all are here. Very often I've mentioned to you all about our standards and where you can be. There is no limit to what you want to do. Minister Stuart Young has laid this platform. Knowledge is power, gentlemen. Knowledge is the key to success. So I would like to thank you for coming, sharing yet another old boy. Thank you very much. You make us proud. So as I am standing on my feet, I would like to really thank the Past Students Union, Mr. Raja, and all Mr. Gill parents who put this workshop, this seminar together. This is to inform you guys and give you some insight into what you can do. However, as it will be said all the time, yes, you may be in a particular direction now. You may choose certain subjects towards a particular journey. However, that journey can turn any day. Once you prepare yourself, the opportunity will come. So preparation is the key. Foundation is the key. Educational foundation is the key. And again, that's why you are here. You will look up on the walls. There are many greats. You can be there. They are all past students. The old boys who are in the association, who help the school in many, many different ways. They have made a commitment. So too, when you leave here, you should make a commitment to the others who are coming. There is no money value you can put towards service. So as teachers, we prepare day and night to come the following day to guide you all. You all need to do your part. And you must do it well. So, at the end of today, you will get together with your parents. You all will have a discussion. Minister Stuart Young said, yes, you want to do things that you want to build your self-esteem, to make you feel good, to make you feel happy. On the flip side, there are demands for certain careers, there are opportunities for certain careers, and you need to prepare yourself. I thank you all for coming out, for listening. Take the positives, listen to everything. Make informed decisions. Thank you very much.
All right, fellas, so it falls to me to explain to you all the logistics of the day. All right, I'll put this slide up here. Actually, let me go to this slide first. Just remember, there are already 4 awards there, special prizes for the people who ask questions and answer trivia questions on the calls on Wednesday and Thursday. You all are going to get those prizes in a bit. But there are more prizes that will be awarded today for people who ask questions, who answer trivia questions, etc. So just remember, when you ask a question, either here or in the AV room, raise your hand, ask a question, say your name before you ask a question so we can record your name. We know who's asking the question. If a trivia question comes to you, again, say your name so we know who it is to give the prize to, right? Because we're eager to give out these awards and we're eager to hear your participation and your involvement. And the panelists are eager to hear your questions. So that's just something I want to remind all y'all. All right. So coming up here, these are the logistics of the day. These are the panels. So you will see there are going to be 4 panels in total today. But unfortunately, you all can't be in 2 places at once. So any person here can only attend 2 panels. The reason is you have a panel here and a panel in the AV room happening simultaneously. So choose your panels wisely. The first 2 panels are panel A and panel B. Panel A is Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. That will be held here. Panel B, which is business, will be held over in the downstairs AV room. Right? So first one around, choose and choose. And then for the second set of panels, you switch over. So whoever was over in the AV room, come here. Whoever was in the hall, come here. Right? So you could get to choose wisely once now and then switch over during the break. Any questions about that? I see all people starting to whisper and whisper. Any questions about the organization?
And just to quickly add on, when you see like sciences, I mean, you have Shaka Hislop, who was a professional footballer, who did some sciences in his past life, etc. So don't feel like, oh, I'm not interested in science, let me do that. Similarly, it's called business and modern, but you have the guy who, the professional video gamer, is in that second group. So again, take a look at the careers within there to decide which ones. I want you to go ahead and memorize now where you need to be at 10 and where you need to be at 11. Because I want you to take a picture if you have your phone so you know what's going on, right?
All right. Another thing to mention is that in between the two sessions, so you notice, you see you have 10 and 11, right? In between the set of sessions, while we're switching over, there will be snacks outside. There will be drinks outside. So just go and organize yourself a little snack and a drink. Don't get too greedy, you know you had to have enough to go around. But by all means, have a snack and a drink. And I think there's candy as well. I see somebody who's here as well, somebody speakers here as well. Wazim Mohammed, the naval pilot. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. All right, so that is the order of the day. The next thing we're going to do is have an award of the, okay. So any questions, anything else logistically you want me to cover? All right, so now we will call Nicole Panton to stage to distribute some of the awards for the people who answered trivia questions correctly on the call. All right, and Nicole, thank you so much again for all the work that you have been doing to organize this event.
Okay, boys. All right. Gentlemen. So you all had fun online, did you? Yes, I saw some hands up. Some were there the first day, some the second day. But I hope that in future, you all will, as you go into Form 4, that you all will encourage the little ones to become more and more part of this. So the future Form 3s, all right? We want to make this bigger and bigger and bigger because you guys are going to benefit tremendously as an individual and as a school. So I want to call on, in no order of priority, but I hope the winners are here. So, is Mr. Wesley Hall present with us in the hall? Wesley Hall, let's get a round of applause to Mr. Wesley Hall. Well done, well done. Come on, let him out, let him out. Okay. So you have some extra goodies in there, yes? And vouchers. So enjoy. Well done, Wesley. Next one, Brandon D'Souza. Is Brandon here with us? Come on, Brandon. Come on. Don't be jealous. Nobody booing. You're very welcome. Okay, next one in line, Aiden Alfred. Yes! Come on, well done. Great. Congratulations. And last but at all not least, do we have Liam Headley with us? Liam, let's hear it. All right. Come on, let's give all the boys a round of applause, right? They were engaged, they answered the questions, and they did well.
Don't forget, we have 4 more of those by the end of today, so look out for more. All right, so here we go. Choose your rooms, choose them wisely. Let's get it started.
All right, guys, good morning. Welcome. Thanks for taking time on a Saturday to come to Career Week. My name is Kevin Harris. I am the secretary for the Past Students Union who's putting on this Career Week for you guys, right? This morning we have, well, as you all had quite a panel this morning, quite a discussion this morning, and this will be STEM 1 of the breakout sessions, okay? So this morning we have Dr. Jared Sargent, Zenon Allen, Mr. Miguel Homer, Shaka Hislop, and Mr. Wazir Mohammed with us, right? So let us not waste too much of your time, and we will start with Jared. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and let us hear you, Jared.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. My name is Jared. I'm left. I was married in 2004, I believe. Well, I was in Dr. Harris's class. I'm a physician currently at the University of South Carolina. I'm an interventional cardiologist by specialty. And for those of you who saw my video, essentially what that means is I deal a lot with the coronary arteries of the heart, mainly putting in stents, keep MIs or people with chest pain. I also do structural interventions, things to do with the valves of the heart, if people have valvular issues or congenital defects, like holes in the heart, plugging up holes, that sort of thing. And that's the basic premise of my day-to-day activities.
Yeah, all right, cool. That's it, Jared? For now? All right, thanks, Jared. Next, we'll have Mr. Miguel Homer. Huh?
Morning, fellas. My name is Miguel Homer, and I am here today to speak to you all about air traffic control. So I'm a air traffic controller. Anybody knows what that entails, what that job does? Anybody? Could take a wild guess. Air traffic controller. Huh? To control some. Okay, all right. You? Okay. All right, all right. Right, right. Okay, so basically we are responsible for managing the flow of air traffic into the country and out. And also, we are also responsible for a very big airspace. Some people don't know the importance of air traffic control, but um, Trinidad is actually responsible for a very, very big airspace. This is so I borrowed this from one of my supervisors. And this is one of the maps. This is Trinidad here. If you be familiar with the world map, right? So if you know this is Trinidad here, all this here will be the Atlantic, right? So Trinidad and Tobago is actually responsible for 750,000 square miles of airspace. So anything flying through this airspace here, they talk to this a little control center in Trinidad and Tobago, and we speak to all the planes that fly through all those airspace, right? So why is that important? So pilots, right, as you know, everybody knows a pilot. Pilots, as you know, get in the plane. Anybody here ever travel? Right? So you get in the plane, and the people that you see is more than likely the pilots. What you don't know is that your pilots actually speak to some people that give them directions. And just imagine when you're driving on the road, there's cars all over. It's the same thing in the air. There are planes all over, traveling at very high speeds, cannot see left, cannot see right, and they don't know what is around them. So we have to manage that and make sure that planes are separated. There are separation standards, like basically if you're sitting here and I'm here, we are separated, right? So there are distance standards, and we have to uphold those standards, right? It's a highly regulated industry, and what I would say about it is more like a craft than anything else. It's very practical. You go to work, you do your work there, you solve your problems, you talk to your pilots, and you give them instructions. You actually give them instructions. The pilots can't even start up their engines without your approval. Right? So it is a very highly responsible job. You are responsible for hundreds of lives on a daily basis. Right? So, and people say it's a stressful job, but really actually once you love what you're doing, I personally don't believe it's stressful once you love what you're doing, right? So, let me give you a little instance where air traffic controller is needed. I have these two planes here, right? Forget the logos on them, forget the companies, right? So there was an instance where it is, I was working in the control tower in Piaco, right? And the controllers in the control tower in Piaco are responsible for all the planes that are coming into the airport and coming out, right? So when it is you leaving the airport, your pilot speaks to one of the controllers in the control tower, right? There are also other sectors, but for the airport, it's the control tower. So there was a plane coming to land, and he was on final, and there was a guy that was supposed to depart before him, right? You ever see those videos where sometimes you see a plane touching down, and one is taking off at the same time? You ever see those videos? Sometimes it might be on Instagram, on TV, right? So one was on final, and one was about to depart, right? And this guy here, it wasn't Caribbean Airlines. I wouldn't call the company's name, but he was let's say he was a Spanish pilot, right? He didn't understand English all that well, and he said, Piaco cannot land. And I was confused. I was like, well, what is this man telling me this hour in the morning? But he cannot land. And when I looked on the radar screen, I realized he was too high and he was going too fast for the distance he was from touching down. So basically, if he landed, he would have run straight off the runway. He would not have been able to stop, right? So this guy here was on the runway now and started to roll to depart. This man cannot land. So we basically have a problem here where we have a conflict between two aircraft, right? So at that point in time, I had to make a decision on if turn this guy here, or do I just let him do a flyover pass and try to maintain a level for this guy to climb out. Had many different options, but in that instance, that is where a traffic controller is needed. So this guy would not have even seen this person departing. He was actually panicking, right? So in the end, what it is I did, I told the person who was departing, the pilot who was departing, to maintain his best rate of climb. And I controlled this rate of climb so that he would climb at a slower level so I could get the required separation between two of them, right? So basically on the radar screen, I was looking like one plane was flying on top of another plane, right? So in that instance, if there was no air traffic control, it could have been detrimental to everybody, right? And both of those aircraft have like about 150 people, right? So that was just a little instance I thought about sharing with you all to understand what the purpose of air traffic control is, right? With regards to being qualified for this job, you would think you have to do this, probably a PhD or something, right? No, you don't need a PhD. You don't need a master's. You don't need a degree, actually. You just need common sense, right? And I'm sure every one of you all are going to pass with maths, English, And in my time when I've been working there almost 9 years, and in my time when I was going to the course to do the course for the diploma for it, the qualifications were physics as well. But I don't think physics is a requirement anymore, right? When you when you when they see your credentials and they select you, you get to go on a course now. And that course is very strenuous. It's years of training, probably like, could go into about 2 years of training, right? There's actually a shortage of air traffic controllers all over the world. And I've gotten offers from places like Australia, Bermuda, but I don't think I'm ready to make that step, me personally, yet. My entire family life, everything is set up in Trinidad. But yeah, there are opportunities. The industry is not totally saturated, and I would say it's a fun job. I would say it's a fun job. When I was in CIC, they used to streamline people at that point in time for scholarships, right? I don't know if they still do that, but they used to streamline people for scholarships, and I wasn't aware of like opportunities like these. I actually wanted to be a doctor at that point in time, right? But there are so many different opportunities out there, uh, so many different type of professionals, and yeah, that's all I have to really say about it. I don't want to stay too long. Anybody have any questions? None? Okay, all right, cool.
Sure. All right, cool. Thanks for that, Mr. Hoover.
Excuse, I just have a question for the ACP.
Let's take questions after, okay? All right, cool. So, guys, as we're moving on, let us move on to Zenon. Zenon, you there with us?
Yeah, I'm here, yeah. Yeah, morning, guys. Thanks for having me. So my name is Zenon. I am, well, I used to be actually a engineer. That would have been the video you all looked at. What a drilling engineer basically does is it works in oil and gas and designs the wells to get to access the hydrocarbon reservoirs thousands of feet below the earth, whether it's offshore or on land. Since sending that video, actually, I've actually transitioned into finance. So right now I'm actually doing my MBA at Duke, transitioning into banking. So yeah, happy to speak more about drilling engineering or anything about transitioning from one thing into the next and kind of anything along my journey.
All right, thanks for that, Zenon. We're moving on quickly. We have Mr. Wazir Mohammed.
Hey, good morning. Hearing me good? Okay. Thank you very much for having me once back. It's my second year returning to St. Mary's College. It is really, really an honor to be back here, to be amongst you all, and to actually be back in this in the halls of St. Mary's College. It's also a special honor to have one of my heroes actually on the panel here, Mr. Shaka Hislop. He's been a big hero of mine and actually helped influence my career. So why I'm saying this is that you may not actually choose the career path that I take, but having mentors and senior persons who went through the college, we are here to assist you all and to guide you all. And somewhere along the line, some of us will actually be influencing some of the decisions you make in the near future. So I guess you all saw the video. I am a marine pilot. I dock ships in the ports of Trinidad and Tobago. And as Mr. Homer was talking about air traffic control, marine pilots have absolutely nothing to do with planes, aircraft. I don't even know how to fly an aircraft. And just normally sit in the back seats of an aircraft and get to where I'm going. But what I am is a qualified master mariner, which I studied in the United Kingdom. Master mariner is a fully licensed captain, so I could captain ships anywhere in the world. I've sailed internationally from Brazil, the UK, Europe, the US, around the Caribbean, across the equator a few times, and I've been around a few places. So one of the jobs when you become a captain, you could captain for the ships, or you could come ashore to get a shore-based job as a port manager, a surveyor, or in this case, I'm a marine pilot. So actually I'm on duty, you see the uniform, and maybe about 4 o'clock this afternoon, I have a container ship to take out of Port of Spain Harbor. all ships coming in and out of any port, anywhere in the world, has a local guide or pilot. And what we do, we'll climb a rope ladder, as the video would have shown, get up on the ship, we speak with the captain is still in charge of his ship, but we assist him in guiding the ship in and out. 80% of the times we'll dock the ships using the tugs, and other times the captain will actually do his maneuver, and we are there to guide. Now, he has the option not to listen to our guidance, but if he doesn't, there's a big chance he'll be in a lot of trouble for that, right? My role to becoming a marine pilot was many years at sea. Leaving St. Mary's College, I did maths, physics, well, one science subject, English, stayed up to A levels here, and then I went to sea with Alcoa Steamship Company, which is in Tembladora, Caranage, right? We sailed internationally, going to the States, to South America, loading bauxite, came back. Once I got my sea time in, I did my first license as a junior officer, navigation officer on a ship. And then from there I continued sailing. But I won't bore you guys with those things because basically it's in the video. What I'd like to do though, any one of you all who might be interested in a job in the maritime industry, it could be working on ships or it could be working ashore, naval architecture, surveying, logistics. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm available 24/7. You just let me know what you need and what I can assist you with. So thank you very much and look forward to some questions afterwards.
All right, thank you for that. And last but certainly not least, a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Shaka Hislop.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Shaka Hislop. I'm a former footballer, current ESPN analyst. I'm a CIC alum, class of 1987. Yes, very long time ago. So it's an honor to be here and speaking with you all because even though the numbers may say differently, it feels like it wasn't so long ago that I was sitting exactly where you are. So happy to answer any questions as best I can.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And with that, we open the floor to questions from the students, to any of our panelists.
Hi, this question goes out to ACT. Pilots are said to repeat instructions from the ACT. My question is asking, why do pilots have to repeat that instruction?
The answer to that is simple. Just because you have to be sure. So if I tell you, climb to flight level 70, right? And you read back, climb to flight level 60. I will have to now correct you because if it is, you go to flight level 60 and there's somebody opposite direction, flight level 60, there's a conflict and the aircraft could hit, right? So that is just to ensure that the instruction was heard and carried out. And there's no ambiguity between you and the pilot.
You have a question to the back there?
It's for the engineer. What subjects do you need to do engineering in college for Form 6?
Yeah, so I did science. So when I was in university, I selected sciences. So and then into A levels, I did physics, chemistry, and mathematics. To do engineering in the British system, you know, we do need to do your A levels in science subjects. But however, I believe to do it in the American system, I don't think you necessarily need to do science subjects. I think it's a bit more flexible. But yeah, but I did sciences and I went on to do mechanical engineering as a first degree, and then I did a master's in petroleum engineering.
Cool.
Hi, and this is the question for the ECT as well. So like, where would you go to apply for this type of job? Like, would you go into PRK first and like apply there, or is there something you could apply outside to get the job?
Say again?
Where would you go to apply to get this type of job? Is it like locally, or like you have to go outside?
Okay.
Like that?
Okay, that's a great question. We actually have a institute in Trinidad, Civil Aviation Authority, Trinidad and Tobago Civil Aviation Authority, that is responsible for everything basically aviation-wise in the country. They are responsible for training of air traffic controllers, for giving pilots their license, for even grounding planes. They have inspectors that could go into a plane and say, hey, ground this plane, this plane not leaving here today. So there is a school in that institute that when you get accepted to do the course, you train, you go and train, and there's a lot of theory work involved and a lot of practical work involved.
This is for the marine pilot. I wanted to be a marine biologist. If hopefully things don't work out as well, being a marine pilot or a boatsman, will that be another good option to be?
Yes, it is. Now, when you have a goal and a dream, it doesn't become a job when you get in there. It becomes a hobby. You get to enjoy it. So I would tell you, whatever is a goal and dream, don't give up on it. Keep going for it. There are many opportunities in the maritime industry, marine biology, oceanography, and then there's also the technical parts, like what I do, shipping, right? If you notice, I just took my stripes off because when I was captain on the TNT Express, the Spirits, the water taxis, I'd wear those. As a marine pilot, I don't wear the stripes because I'm working alongside a captain who has those stripes, right? So don't give up on your goals and dreams. But in this industry, there's a lot of opportunities. And at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, there is a department, a nautical and maritime campus that does both biology, oceanography, and even shipboard-related activities like what I'm doing. Thanks.
This question is to the cardiologist. How many years does it take to be able to practice medicine? And when you're practicing medicine, is public medicine better or like private practice better?
Yeah, good question. It really depends on the path you take. So, for instance, I went to the US system, so in the US system, you have to do a first degree, undergraduate degree. It really doesn't matter what you do the degree in, as long as you have the core pre-medicine subjects, which are typically, math, chemistry, biology, organic chemistry. And then in the US system, after 4 years of undergrad, you have to do 4 years of medical school. And after medical school, you then have to do a varying amount of years of sort of on-the-job training called a residency. And depending on to specialize, you then have to do a fellowship. So for me, I did undergrad for 4 years, medical school for 4 years, internal medicine residency for 3 years, followed by a 3-year cardiology fellowship, followed by an additional year fellowship in interventional. So it's quite a bit of years to do in my particular specialty, but it varies depending on what you want to do. If you go through, for instance, the system in Trinidad or the UK, Ireland, you go straight out of high school into medical school. So you do A levels, which I did, and then you could choose to go to the UK system, where you go straight into medical school, which is usually about 5 years, I believe. And then from there, you then go into specializing. So it could be a bit faster through the UK system. Depends on where you're at your life, and because it takes a lot of dedication to do medicine, and sometimes doing that first degree gives you the maturity you need to travel, the path. To your question about the public versus the private sector, I don't practice in Trinidad, so it's very different how the healthcare systems are designed here. Most of the healthcare systems are non-profit organizations or large healthcare systems, usually affiliated with universities. So I work for a large healthcare system, which is a non-profit, but we're also associated with a state university, University of South Carolina. So that's how it works, in Trinidad, obviously, you have the public and private sector, and most of my colleagues who work in Trinidad, work in both. I don't think it's very exclusive. You usually start your career within the public sector and then end up sort of working in both sectors.
All right, cool. So I will jump in here and assist Jared with the second part of your question. I am a medical doctor working in the public sector in Trinidad. The question of public versus private is just a matter of choice, really, and more times than not, what the biggest variation will be the main one being the amount of money you get paid, and the second one being the type of patients you will see, right? Generally speaking, in our public system, we serve for the I would say 60 to 70% of the people who we serve are people who can't afford private medical care, right? So, and in the private sector, you deal with people who I would say have things like medical insurance or are able to pay out of pocket. The other big difference between public and private in our country is the speed at which you have access to care. So certain things that, because of the volume that we deal with in the public sector, the speed at which you can get things done sometimes isn't as required or as should be according to guidelines, whereas in the private sector, as long as you're able to pay, you'll get things done at the snap of a finger. Yeah,
and Kevin, I'd like to clarify something on the years of training. So after medical school, when you do residency and fellowship and these things, these are paid jobs. So those aren't, I mean, they're training and you get paid till you reach an attendant level, just to clarify that. It's not as though you're in school for that length of time without compensation.
Agreed, yeah. The private sector is strictly specialist, you see. So you'd have to actually complete all of your training before you're allowed to work in the private sector.
This is a question to the ACT as well. You gave an example of a pilot speaking a foreign language. Would you say to be an ACT you would need to have common language of a foreign language?
Yes, the world aviation language is English. So you need to know English to fly anywhere in the world, basically. So you have like French pilots come in, Russian pilots, and their accents will be a little bit different. Those are things you'll have to get accustomed to, because you don't want no miscommunication between you and them. And if you have to ask 5, 6 times just to be sure what it is they are hearing is what you said, you have to do that.
So this is the decision, and even if the secretary could help as well. So what do you think are some of the main struggles and challenges of being a surgeon or a doctor? And do you think that the industry of medicine is dying with new technological advances?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Sorry, I didn't quite hear. I believe it was for me.
You wanted to repeat the question, Jared?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes. So what do you think are some of the main struggles and challenges of being a surgeon or a doctor? And do you think the industry of medicine is dying with new technological advances?
So and correct me if I think the first part of the question was what are some of the difficulties or struggles about being a surgeon or physician, and the second one was what was you're asking about technological advances in the field?
Yeah, do you think the technology will render us
to answer the first question, I think it's specialty based. Obviously, being a physician, a lot of people put their trust in you. Depending on your specialty, a lot of times it's life or death. For instance, in my field, as an interventional cardiologist, when someone has a heart attack in the middle of the night, you know, one of the struggles that you have to live with is when I'm on call, I'm on call. I could be fast asleep, my pager goes off, I have 90 minutes to open up that occluded vessel. So I have less than 30 minutes to get to the hospital, and within an hour and a half, I have to open that vessel back up for the patient to survive. essentially. So it is a stressful situation, and this is why, like many of the other panelists, we train for so many years, so it almost becomes muscle memory, and you become more comfortable doing what we do. But a lot of times, you are in charge of a room, someone's dying, and you have to make really life or death decisions. And of course, one of the struggles and the downsides is some people do die, and you have to deal with those situations, deal with family members. So I think being a physician is not all about the procedures we do, but being compassionate. You know, you have to be caring. It is a well compensated field, but I tell everyone, do not go into medicine if you really don't care for patients. And you have to love what you do, and you have to really want to help people, because as you can see, there's tons of other ways to make a good living. So that's really I would say the biggest struggle is the dedication, the years it takes to do it. I am forever a student. There's no end of the road for me. I'm always studying. It doesn't stop there. And that brings me to the second part of your question about technological advances. So when I finished training, my formal training, within a year or two, a new technology always comes out, a new device, and so I constantly have to learn that. And so in interventional cardiology, you know, we've reached the point where we are doing robotic PCI. You know, you sit down like a video game and use controls to do some procedures. You know, there's a Da Vinci that surgeons use. You sit in a console and you operate on a human with, you know, a joystick, essentially. So there are things of technological advances, a lot of things that patients historically went to open heart surgery for. You know, I do this all by going through someone's wrist right here. I access someone's wrist, and I go to their heart all the way from here. And so we have had a lot of advances and a lot of technological advances, which is very broad for this, the amount of time that we have, but I'll be happy to speak with anyone about anything, yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm going to interject here now and ask a question to the entire panel. And I'll start with Shaka for the answer for this question. The three people online clearly don't live in Trinidad. They all live away. We have two well-traveled panelists here as well. How have you all, and then if you did, how did you deal with the issue of race and racism outside of Trinidad and Tobago? Because you guys we're dealing here with Form 3s, right? And I imagine most of you here will want to leave and do university abroad. And in the world that we live in, that is a very real situation that you will have to deal with, like me, or me, hopefully not have to deal with outside. And I guess our panel will be very, and I know Shaka, you've definitely had to deal with that, so can you give us your experiences on how you've been able to deal with that?
Certainly. Wherever you go outside of Trinidad and Tobago, there's always going to be cultural challenges that you're going to face and have to meet, and especially as young black men, in this case, certainly men of color, going to larger Western countries such as the United States, such as England, it is very prominent. I think in dealing with it, you have to be able to recognize it, how it manifests itself as pertains to whatever you may be pursuing, and figure out ways to deal with it, to get the better of it, whether it's calling it out or being able to navigate your way around it. But at the same time, I think if you do, you have to provide that roadmap for the next person coming behind you so that they can do the same, or that you can contribute to your employer in ways that they can make sure that those hurdles are broken down. For me, in football, it was there. I was on Saturday last. It was Sunday. So yes, Sunday just gone. Sky Sports aired a documentary in the United Kingdom, hosted by David James, who is still the only black goalkeeper to represent England. And just speaking about the challenges of being black and the hurdles as to why so few black goalkeepers come through at the highest level. And I was one of those with David James. David and I were the only two black goalkeepers in England at the time that we were playing. But understanding the challenges that came with that and trying to find solutions to that, I think became my responsibility and in speaking about it. While I was playing, I was also the founding patron of Show Racism the Red Card, which has grown to become the UK's largest anti-racism education charity, where we talk about and present challenges and issues around allyship, and we do it in an education space. So there are a number of ways. We often say that there's more than enough racism to go around. So there's a number of ways that you can challenge the status quo. You can make things better for the next person coming behind you. As I say, for me, it was through founding that organization and through representing Trinidad and Tobago and black goalkeepers in that.
Yeah, I'll comment on that as well. I think one of the biggest messages is like, yes, like Shaka said, it's always going to be racism. You have to sometimes be better to accomplish what you need to accomplish, unfortunately. But I also don't want it to deter you from travel and experience, because I truly believe that when you travel, like for instance, I live in South Carolina now, and I was in Connecticut before, which is more liberal than South Carolina, and a lot of people would ask why I made that move, and I have found it refreshingly different to the outside belief. I've actually faced more racism in states that you would not expect it compared to South Carolina, and I would not have known that unless I traveled and gave things a chance. And I think travel and seeing the world opens your mind culturally. Your people become more open and respectful to different cultures, and it will only help you as a person. So don't let the thought or possibility of racism stop you from that travel. You will face it at some point in your life, and you can overcome it by remembering what your parents taught you, remembering the values that St. Mary's taught you, that Trinidad taught you, and you have to be best in the room, and don't let anybody question your talent. And that's how you become a leader of color, in my opinion.
Yeah. Anybody got anything? I'll pass it to you.
Hi, morning again.
Yeah, I could just chime in.
Yeah, you go ahead, please.
No, I'll just chime in quickly there. I mean, my experience is a bit different. So I studied in Trinidad and I worked in Trinidad for around 9 years. And my experience moving to the States just about last year or so to do my MBA in North Carolina. It was my first time actually living and studying in the States. And what I found was that what really helped me was when I was looking for schools to go to, do a lot of research into kind of how does that school or that program or that if you're moving up for a job, how do they deal with diversity, inclusion, and just look at the numbers as well. And just kind of surround yourself with the right type of people, and I think that's the best way to kind of deal with it. So in North Carolina, it's considered to be diverse, but at the same time in my school I have less than 10% black people, right? But at the same time, I really don't let that bother me. You just kind of immerse yourself in the environment and just make the most of it. But at the same time, don't turn a blind eye to it. When you see it, call it out. And a lot of times people are just oblivious and just ignorant of the fact of what they're doing and just kind of point it out to them in a polite way. And use it as a learning experience for both of you all. And that's how I found the best to kind of navigate this kind of landscape over the last year or so.
Hi, morning again. Okay. But my part of it, sailing internationally on ships. I've been around the world, worked with international crew, and I have experienced racism. I've studied in the United Kingdom, very close, and I was actually inspired to study in a certain part of England, Newcastle, where Shaka played club football, and I'm still a big fan of the football club. I did encounter racism. It wasn't part of the country or the city, but it was part of some people, of their thoughts and processes. But what I will tell you here, the world is becoming more, it's getting more broader with social media. What Mr. Hislop is doing here with sure racism, the red card, it's becoming more and more to the light in sports and general living. I'd say this, you may find racism where you go. I have experienced it, middle of the ocean. I've had issues, but if it's one thing, whether it was a captain who didn't like certain nationality or color or race, having the name Mohammed at one time too, after 9/11, there were some issues, well, quite a few issues. But at the end of it, that didn't change my dream, my passion, my goal. As I said, I'm not here to teach you or to tell you to become a captain or this or any other thing. It is your choice. But I actually enjoy what I do, and it's a hobby for me now. And I want you guys to embed that into you. Whatever career you choose, make it a hobby. And no one should take that away from you. You will get problems and you will see it, but do not get hate out of the things you experience, because then you're going to become what you don't like, right? So keep at it.
I'll just a question for the surgeon there. Is there anything in that generally that people miss out when becoming in the medicine area, like what the people generally miss like to study or to look upon?
Jared, you heard the question?
I did. Could you repeat it, Kevin, into the mic? 'Cause I didn't quite hear it. Sorry.
Or the question was, is there anything that people generally miss when becoming or following a career that deals with medicine, like forget to study or miss out on?
The question is there anything people generally miss or in trying to become a physician? Is that correct?
Yeah, Jared. Is there anything you feel you've missed out on while studying? Is that the question?
Did I miss out from a life perspective?
Yeah, that's it. If they miss out anything.
Is that the question?
Yeah. From on a life perspective, yeah. Is there anything you've had to sacrifice?
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, obviously, I think that's not just medicine. As you, in any field you choose, like the other panelists said, it becomes a hobby, and you have to learn that life balance. You know, that's any career. You will have to work hard. You'll have to make sacrifice. I wouldn't say physicians more than any others. Obviously, I have, the time management skill is something that I have worked on tremendously, and I'm still trying to perfect. I have missed weddings, family occasions, things like that. You will have sacrifices, but that's every career. But yes, once you dedicate your life to something, you care about it, there comes a need of sacrifice. It's up to you to decide what is a priority, and you have to make that priority. You can't help everybody. I have to take days off. I have to spend time with my wife. So that's any field, not just medicine.
All right, thanks, Jared. Next question.
I have a question for the air traffic controller. So I'd like to become a pilot in the future, and I would want to know if it is air traffic controlling, if I could go into that field first and transition from being that pilot.
Yes, there are actually quite a number of air traffic controllers that I work with, that they are commercially rated pilots, and there just was a lot of difficulty for them to get jobs, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, because Caribbean Airlines only have so much of planes, right? So they will reach that max where they have enough pilots, and then you'll have to wait until somebody transition to another airline or anything or something like that. So a lot of them branch off into the air traffic control side of aviation. Other things as well, some people go over, because aviation is not limited to being a pilot or air traffic controller. Some people are runway safety personnel, some people are aircraft maintenance engineers, some people work in the airport. So there are a lot of different sectors of aviation you can go into.
All right, cool. And to wrap up, one last question for Shaka. So Shaka, just revert the previous question to you in terms of the journey to becoming a professional sports person, regardless of whatever sport you choose. What sort of dedication and sacrifice did you have to make in order to achieve that dream of becoming a professional sports person?
So just as Jared was saying before me, again, it's not just down to be in a position of sports person. You're going to have to make sacrifices if you want to be successful. In terms of sport, of course, it's a slightly different ask. In that, so for instance, when I was in Trinidad going to school at CIC, the national junior teams were training Saturday and Sunday. So while everybody might be able to go out on a Friday night or whatever it may be, or Saturday night, I had to be in early. So so some of the social aspects of being a teenager growing up in Trinidad, you lose. But then those are easy sacrifices to make when you're focused on what you want to become and you're loving what you're doing. So just from that aspect, and again, I think I am in no way unique here. I mean, my journey to becoming a professional, I actually went to university first. So after, as I said, growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, going to St. Mary's College, playing for CIC, playing with the national teams, I went to Howard University. I also got a mechanical engineering degree, as gentleman was saying before going out to England. So during my own university career, while playing for the university team, they paid, through a soccer scholarship that got me through school. You had to learn time management. You had to learn to focus on what was important to you, because you had to find that balance. I think understanding that and finding that balance gave you a foundation for being a professional. Because now all of a sudden, you turn pro, you train, 5 days a week. You have a game on the 6th. But you're only training for a couple hours a day, so you have a lot of time to yourself. And just kind of understanding how to use that time, how not to abuse that time, more to the point, I think is also vital to your success and certainly long-term success. So I credit my own kind of those sacrifices that I made growing up and through university to giving me the foundations to be that professional. Because it's very easy to kind of fall off the rails. And there's always somebody who's there, willing to put in the work to take your place. So you have to be able to not just match, but exceed what other people are willing to do. But those are easy sacrifices to make when you're as focused as certainly I was on chasing what was my dream.
Okay, thanks for that answer, Shaka. And with that, gentlemen, we will wrap up this morning's session for STEM 1. Thank you very much for coming out. On behalf of the St. Mary's College Past Students Union and St. Mary's College and the Form 3 boys, I'd like to thank each and every one of our panelists for taking the time to speak to our boys this morning. I know when people think about giving back to the school, the first thing they think about is how much money they have to give back. But this has been invaluable, and thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking the time to speak to the boys this morning. All right, gentlemen, we will take a short recess and we'll begin with STEM 2 at 11 a.m.
All right, thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thank you.
45 minutes for this panel. This is the second and really the last panel that you're going to be here for today. We have an incredible lineup here. You've seen these guys on the videos. You voted for them. You wanted to hear more about them. So the point of right now is, again, it's not for them to give their life story again, but for you to ask them questions, right? So what we're going to do is just let them let the guys on stage just introduce themselves one by one real quick again so you can remember what they do. I'm sure you remember exactly what Captain Gary Griffith does, and he had 3 videos, so you got 3 different careers out of him in one guy, which is amazing. But I'm just going to pass the mic on to the guys on the stage, and we're going to listen quickly to what they do, and then we're going to take questions from you guys, yeah? You all ready? Snackers, let's go.
Hi guys, morning. I'm JP. I sat where you sat from about 1998 until 2005. Currently, I work for Republic Bank and I've been in banking for about 15 years.
Hi, I'm Paul and I work in security and training with firearms. I'm very glad to be here. And as JP said, we actually sat together where you sat in our time.
Morning guys, my name is Kyron Serret. I'm a sport business professional. I work at the sport company of Trinidad and Tobago and I graduated from here in 2000, so yeah, feeling kind of old right now.
Hi, good morning, Gary Griffith here. I am here to deal with opportunities in your career as it pertains to national service, whether it be in the protective services, more so in the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, or that of politics.
Cool. Let's jump right into questions. I want to hear the kind of questions that you have for these gentlemen. Who wants to kick it off? Whose mouth is not full of snacks?
Hello, my name is Daniel McQueen. This is a question for JP. What exactly do you do in finance?
All right, so in my banking career, I've held worn 3 different hats. The first one was as an investment banker. So that is large-scale projects, looking at private equity. So essentially raising money to fund projects, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector. So the Hyatt project, the waterfront project, was a project that was funded. It was a $3.5 billion TT dollar project that was funded by Republic Bank. That would have been one of the projects that I would have worked on. The second area that I worked on in banking is on the retail side. So the branches that you see all over Independence Square branch, I actually managed Independence Square branch for a couple of years. That branch network on the retail side, we do car loans, mortgages, open accounts, and then there's the whole operation service side where we deal with cash, we deal with wire transfers, we deal with a lot of other services, the everyday services that anyone can walk into a bank and obtain. And the most recent hat, or the current hat that I'm wearing, is as the senior manager for corporate in Barbados. So I deal with all of the companies, lending companies money, whether it's expanding their premises, whether it's building a warehouse, buying a new fleet of vehicles. So funding opportunities for businesses in Barbados right now, and I'm actually being repatriated to Trinidad on the 1st of July, and I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So I'll let you know.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, JP. Thank you very much, JP. Guys, even if the question that's being asked is not your question,
I think we have a follow-up.
You can have a follow-up, but even if the question is not your question, you need to respect the person asking the question and respect the person answering it by not chatting in between. So please, I want you guys to pay attention to any question, even if it wasn't yours.
What do you need to do investment banking, like get into it?
So that's a very good question. I think a good foundation in economics is probably a good place to start, understanding particularly macroeconomics, doing things like business management, having a fundamental understanding of accounting. Those are all areas that I would recommend studying or at least being somewhat au courant with. There's no one subject that's going to make you into a banker. A lot of it has to do with personality, your ability to interact with people, how you engage with people, how you speak to people, and whether people trust you, because a lot of banking is trust. So, but yeah, I would start with those business subjects and carry that through to university.
Cool. Do you have another question there?
My, my name is Jose Watts, and this question is for Mr. Griffith. What is the procedure to own a firearm license, and also who is allowed to have a firearm, like legally, like to get a firearm license?
Just want to repeat, Captain, you hearing us? The question related was from one of the boys around who is legally allowed to own a firearm and what would be the process for them to get that?
Okay, this is directed to me. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bad connection.
Yes, directed to you.
Legal to own firearms?
Yeah, to own. So who is allowed to own and what's the process for that?
Okay, so both, there's someone else on the panel who is versed just as much as me as it pertains to this. That's Mr. Paul Nahus. Mr. Paul Nahus is one of the most qualified persons and firearm experts in Trinidad and Tobago. As it pertains to firearms, firearms are approved only by the Commissioner of Police. We are speaking about legal firearms. Probably about 0.005% of firearms in the country are legal firearms. The majority are illegal firearms that enter the country illegally through our legitimate ports of entry or the illegal ports of entry. As a firearm, the Commissioner of Police will go through a stringent process to look at that you have sound body and mind, psychological testing, see what is the rationale behind it, if they are a threat to you. If you are married, that the spouse must approve it, ensuring that you have it secured properly, and then and only then would you and should you be able to receive a firearm. The other persons who get firearms would obviously be persons in the Defense Force and the Protective Services, also the Army, Coast Guard, Customs, Immigration, Police Service, Fire, Prison officers. A third group would be those of security officers, where you get something that is known as an FUEC, a Firearm Employee Certificate, Firearm Users Employee Certificate. So if you're a security officer and you get precepted and do the same type of training as a civilian who gets a firearm user's license, that security officer can also have a firearm, and it could be registered under the security company that he is employed with.
All right, next question. Well, Paul, anything you need to add?
Very simply put, you have to be 25 years of age or older to obtain a firearm user's license. Members of the Protective Service who are under 25 will get a service arm to use while they're on duty, but not outside of that. So you have to be 25 years of age, able-bodied, be able to see, be able to walk, very simple criteria. You go through, as Mr. Griffith would have said, stringent testing in terms of your background checks and checking family history, associates, all that kind of stuff. However, I would encourage everyone to get involved if they would like to get involved in that type of stuff. There is a very vibrant sport of air rifle precision shooting that you can do under the age of 25, which requires a lot less, but it can start you in learning how to shoot and get you prepared for when you're 25 years of age to apply for such license.
Thank you. Questions here?
Zion Matisse. This question is for the investment banker. So, after Cape, would you advise going to UE to further education, or could you just go into a bank and start at entry level? Or?
So you always have the option, I guess, to go straight into the bank at entry level. Our tellers have very little requirements in terms of educational requirements, but to move up in the bank, to get into an area like investment banking, which is considered a specialist unit within the bank, I would highly recommend furthering your education beyond Cape and going to university, UE, UTT, or anywhere else, and really adding more knowledge and education around the subjects that you want to further.
Great. Who else we got?
My question is for, I'm Neil Alfred, and my question is for Gary Griffith. Why decide to get into politics?
So the question posed to you was, why did you decide to get into politics?
Why? Oh, okay. No, but usually when you're in the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, as you would have seen the video, 31 of the 45 US presidents had military service. So there's some type of equation between a relationship between being in the military, providing that type of national service, and then getting into politics. It's almost the same. It has the same type of relationship where you're willing to serve, you're willing to serve others, you're willing to put your life on the line for persons that you do not even know. So that degree in the military, especially when I went to the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, where it is, that's really like the best of the best, where you get the best military persons in the world and they go and train there. Prince Harry and others would have gone there as well. It teaches you not just to be a soldier, but also to lead a country, to serve a country. And that is where many persons in the military actually turn into politics, because your life has been one of serving Trinidad and Tobago or whichever country you're in as a soldier, as a sailor, as an air guard person, and then you just move on to something else, which is politics. So that degree of serving, wanting to put your life on the line to help others, willing to sacrifice to make your country a better place, it is regarded in the military as the most noble of all professions. And same thing with the police service. So sometimes politics now, if it is you really get into politics for the right reasons, you will have the same character traits of sacrifice, putting others before yourself, commitment, dedication to duty, and above all, patriotism to country. And that is the reason why I got into politics. It was just a stepping from the military into another field to assist in serving my country.
All right, let me ask a question to the students. How many of you think you have the opportunity to become a professional athlete? Oh, we have a lot of athletes in here. What kind of sports you'll play to become a professional athlete? Football? What's yours? Hockey, okay. How many of y'all believe that you're gonna make a career out of it and make money and build wealth out of that? A lot, okay. How many of y'all think that you'd be able to do something else in sport even if you weren't the athlete? All right, good. So Karen, is this typical for you? Do you see that young people see themselves in sport, not just from an athlete perspective, but also from the non-being the athlete
administrative, yeah. So it's also always interesting. You know, everyone believes that they're going to represent the country. They're going to be a professional athlete. You know, if you could be bouncing ball in the court and somebody will say, yeah, I'm going to the NBA. Like, I don't know who's watching. You're watching the NBA? Any Heat fans? You all saw Jimmy Butler last night? Yes. Crazy. All right? So, you know, everyone believes that they could make it. And my advice to you is, if you surely believe that you can make it, you know, you put your mind to it and you work hard. After a point, though, there's going to come a point when you're going to have to decide whether it is you want to dedicate all your time and energy in this pursuit or something else. So I came in and I heard Shaka talking about all these sacrifices and so on. And to make it to that level, to a national team, it really is a lot. To make it a professional, depending on the sport, when you think about even football these days, right now, Trinidad doesn't have one person in the Premier League. It's not that we're not good. It's just that it's so competitive that it's that much harder to make. So you'll have to be prepared to work hard if that is where you want to go. Cricket, there's more opportunity now with cricket in terms of the T20 leagues and so on. So there are opportunities, but you have to be prepared to work for it. Now that is if you want to go, excuse me, on the athlete side. There are other things you could do in sport. So if I were to take myself as an example, I played first 11 cricket when I was here. I really tried with football. Second 11 was the best. I tried to swim, wasn't the best. Cricket, running, track and field. Because I spent all that time on the bench though, I was able to see what is required to make the athlete's performance better, what is required to support. And if you look at all sport in general, you'll realize that there are these key people that are needed to improve the performance of the athletes. Managers, physiotherapists, sports psychologists, lawyers, what else? Nutritionists. There are a host of different things you can do in and around sport, but if it is you're not blessed to be the actual athlete, that you could still play an important part in ensuring that that athlete or that team excels.
All right, I have another question. Well, I'm going to come to you in a second, but I want to ask a quick question, which is that what I noticed from the videos is that pretty much all of you did some stint outside. JP just did Barbados. You were talking about Israel. We heard about Sandhurst Military Academy, one of the best in the world. Your international exposure. To what extent do you feel that that contributed to where you are? Was it necessary, and was it important? Any of you could answer that?
Yeah, I'll start. I would always encourage anyone to have a stint outside, to study if you have the opportunity. It could be as little as a month. You could do if you're able to do a bachelor's or whatever in an international country. It helps with your understanding of the world. And once you have that experience, it allows you to generally make better decisions in context. It allows you to see what is out there available. You might be in Trinidad, seeing things through one lens, and then you're able to go abroad, and then you see a different application of how that is done, and then realize, okay, maybe this is not what I wanted, maybe it's in this way. So having an opportunity to go away, interact with different cultures, interact with different personalities, it allows you to widen your perspective. And you never know what that will bring in terms of you in helping you decide what you want to do with your life or what path you want to pursue.
There's a saying that a mind once expanded could never... There's a saying that a mind once expanded could never shrink back to its original form. And the ultimate thing to expand your mind is to go abroad, to spend time within other countries, with other cultures. And I don't mean go Barbados, go Miami for a weekend. When you go, even if you go to do a course, a diploma, whatever it is, take some time, spend a month or two, however you can, to be around people of different cultures, to interact with them, to speak with them. In my training, I would have gone in various parts of the world to train with law enforcement and military. And in that, it was, the big value of that wasn't just the training. The value is that I got to see a different perspective, see how people in other parts of the world think, especially when dealing with people that will be going to fight war and come back from fighting wars, and how they interact with other cultures. You realize how complex people are and how complex the world actually is. And once you come back here with that mentality, it will carry you to every other facet of your life.
Hi, my name is Michael Lauman, and this is a question for the investment banker. What subjects did you do in school, and are there any particular subjects that you have to do to become one?
All right, so you're real taxing my brain now. I studied at A-levels business, history, and economics. If you ask me what I did for CXC, I probably can't remember, but it would have been business, accounting, or POA, econ. Yeah, the business package. As I mentioned earlier, there are no particular subjects that you have to study. For me, history was one. It helped, like you learn how to structure an argument, you learn how to present an idea or look at two sides of an equation, and that's important when you're analyzing a credit in investment banking, whether to do a deal or not to do a deal. So there are different subjects that will enhance whatever it is that you're doing. I mean, right now there's a big acquisition drive by Trinidadian companies outside. So if you look at the companies, okay, Agostini's did one in Canada, one in Jamaica, Anson McCall in Bahamas, you're looking Massey in Florida. But if you're looking at the big markets, Latin America is there, I would recommend anybody who really wants to work for a big regional company, whether it's a bank or anybody else, to look at maybe studying Spanish. There are tens of millions of people on our doorstep, and that is a huge untapped market which a lot of Trinidadian companies will be looking to go into. And if you speak Spanish, as well as having some business background, I think that's going to be a big advantage, So there's no one subject formula to get you on the path. It's really that mix of subjects.
All right, so we have another question here and one in the back. But real quick, part of the reason why we do the career week for you as a Form 3 is because you're choosing subjects. So how many of you, by a show of hands, and be honest, already know exactly what you're going to choose for your subjects? Every single one, you know every single one. All right, thanks. Put your hands down. How many of you have a subject that you're not sure you want to do yet? You might want to do it, but you're trying to figure it out. All right, that's a lot. Let's ask this last question because it applied to me. How many of you are having to choose subjects because your parents are telling you what subjects you need to choose? How many of you are being forced into certain subjects? All right. So let me just ask a question to the panel themselves. How did you go about thinking about choosing subjects? And if you had any that you were borderline on, you wasn't too sure, a lot of people are not too sure, how did you go about choosing the not too sure one?
CXC or A-levels?
CXC.
Well,
now it's form five.
in CNC you did, I don't know if it's the same now, but you did business or you did science. That was kind of the route. So
They have more options.
You have more now. Well, I just speaking from our days in CNC, there were much less options to go into as packages, and I would have gone to history and business and into that type of stuff because I had a love for history and a love for literature and these type of things. So I kind of went that direction for both CXC and for A-levels because I did history, literature, and business fit. So I just went with what I thought I liked and what I had no clue at that point in time what I would eventually get into.
Yeah, so back in my day, yeah, it wasn't as flexible in terms of being able to pick languages, pick subjects. But what I would say now, and James, you can correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of your ability to pick, I would say a language for sure, Spanish, French. I'm not sure what else we are, but you'll be safe with Spanish. Do a science or two. Do a business or two. Geography, you can't lose. History, it spans, and you wouldn't know it until you get older. Stuff with history spans all sorts of different types of careers. So I would say do history. If you're so inclined and you could draw, do art, because that is also something that, in terms of how the brain works and your ability to express yourselves, that again translates into different things later on in life. So I'd say do a science, at least one, do a business subject, get a language, anything art related, if you're able to put that in, and I think you'll be generally be okay from a CXC level and then your A levels. That'll be a good platform, and then you can now branch off into whatever you want to do. One other point, James, in terms of parents at this stage, ease them up. Sometimes they might come across like pests, like mommy, daddy, ease them up. You only want me to do what you want me to do kind of thing, but get them a ease up. Generally, they just want what's best for y'all. I mean, they might feel like y'all don't know, but at some point you have to just trust them a little bit. Be sure to speak up as well if it is that you feel a certain way about something. I'm not saying be rude, but have that conversation. But also on the flip side, I just want to say, your parents really just want what's best for you. So, get them a little ease up if you find they're a little bit much.
Well, Captain Griffith, did you force your kids to do any specific subjects for O-levels?
No, in fact, actually going back to myself, so young men, I was the last year when St. Mary's College had something called Latin. And so I did Latin and I got 2%. And I think the teacher says because I spelled my name right. That was the 2% that I got. So, and then my parents wanted me to do chemistry and so forth because they wanted me to be a doctor. In those days, that was the prime career. My recommendation to you is to do what you're comfortable with. So at this age, you may not be 100% sure of the career that you want because it'll be rotating, but do something that you like. In my situation, which is very interesting, that the individuals who are on this panel, my career involved heavily in banking and also in sports. Because being in the military, being in the police service, being a politician, but also military and police, sport plays a very big part to that. And that is where Mr. Scarrett and I have been involved. I've represented my national team. I've been involved in CIC Pan Am Games, World Cup qualifiers. And sport is a very big part towards the development of a young man or woman. It brings the character traits of punctuality, leadership, uniformity, tactics, not giving up, strategy. So there's a lot in sport, and sometimes in this country we see it as an extracurricular activity. I would intend to have to turn this into a core curriculum. So if you're very active, and that's why, because of myself, I played cricket, hockey, football for St. Mary's College, and I realized that I'm not going to be an 8 to 4 behind the desk person, and that's why I got into the military. So the type of subjects that I went into subjects that I was comfortable with, and even with banking, as a Minister of National Security, I had a $7,000 million budget, the highest budget probably anybody or few people will have. So trying to balance that, same thing as a Commissioner of Police. So banking was important. Sport is also important in this career, because there's something that you all may not be aware of known as ADHD, where 7% of boys have that. And that is a dysfunction where it is that we get distracted easily, because you need to run, you need to exercise, you need to exert yourself. And if that is the case, that is where I started putting myself involved in a lot more activities, and also making sure I do subjects that I will not be easily distracted, which is why when I went into Form 6, I put focus on those subjects. So my recommendation to you is to do what you are comfortable with, which is that you will not impose yourself into something in subjects that you really don't like, and try to, as you do the subjects you like, the career that you would like to get will come.
Great. I think we had a question in the back here.
Morning, my name is Darius Humphrey, and I have a question for Mr. Sniper. Do you own a sniper, and have you killed anybody?
That question was to me?
I think that was for Paul.
Pardon?
Not a question to be asked. Let's get the next one.
No, but was it a question, was that directed to me or do you have a bad audio?
It was directed to Paul.
Oh, it was directed to Paul, okay, good.
You want to answer it? All right, we have a question in the front there.
Yes, sir, I have a next question for JP. How long does it take to join a specialized unit in the bank?
All right, so it really depends on what level you're coming in at to join a specialized unit. I went straight into a specialized unit, so I started my career in investment banking. I came out of university, it was my first job, but obviously started at an entry-level position. So I was a junior analyst in the investment banking department and moved up by performing well, doing what I needed to do, and continuing to further my studies, right? So there's no, again, in banking, there is absolutely no formula to cracking into banking. It's really, if you like it, if you want to get in. The banks here are big, they're always hiring, and expressing what you want to do in the bank. If you want to be in investment banking, you can get on that track, and all the banks have investment banking departments.
Jim, just on that point though, with regards, although I'm not in banking, but just generally because there are multiple things that you can do in the bank, and everybody is excited about the investment banking. But what I would say is, if you decide you want to go down that path, expose yourself to different areas, right? They might have something in forensic auditing. You never know. You know, you're all the time they say investment banking because it's nice, it's cool, it's sexy, but then you might learn about auditing and think it's the best thing, right? So keep yourself open. You know, it's one thing to be focused, but don't close yourself off from learning other learning opportunities, because you never know what you might like.
Yeah, and on that point, I mean, so I can speak from Republic's standpoint. We have a massive legal department with in-house lawyers who are just as qualified, if not more qualified, than lawyers who work in law firms specialized in banking. We have auditors that studied accounting, they're fully qualified, and they work both in our finance department and some work in our internal audit department. I mean, banking is so diverse from that standpoint. Security and premises, I mean, we have guys who specialize in looking at our camera systems to make sure they're angled correctly when we're moving hundreds of millions of dollars, how the logistics are meant to come through, and those guys are in-house, they work for the bank. So, you know, there's innumerable positions within a bank that you can actually, if you don't want to be a banker or an investment banker and you don't want to lend money, There are other things that you can do in a bank. We have an entire HR team for people who specialize in HR. And the list goes on, so yeah. Sign up outside.
All right, more questions from the audience? What you got? All right, I have one then. Pretend you are sitting down here, Form 3. Give us one thing you would have wanted to be told in Form 3 in this area around careers or choosing subjects or studying. What is something you would have wanted someone to tell you?
Well, to be honest, first of all, if I was in Form 3, I might have been ducking the slime in some way. I was not the most astute student. But jokes aside, I want to tell the students that these years are very important. These are your formative years. These are going to end up being, you might not see it now, but some of the most memorable years of your life, being in school and being able to hang out with your friends, being able to catch your kicks in between classes, some during classes. You know, it's going to really form who you are as a person. However, at the same time, understand that you will make mistakes along this path, and nothing is set in stone, right? No matter what you do, how you do in school coming out, there's always a future for you. So enjoy the time now and do the best you can, and things will work out afterwards once you put your mind to it.
Yeah, I remember being in Form 3 actually, and thinking that CXC was probably the most daunting thing in front of me when I sat where you sit. And probably you may not like to hear this, but it's not. It's not the most daunting thing, nor is A-level, CAPE, nor is university. The stakes get higher as you go, so take this in its stride, pick the subjects that you like, pick the subjects that you want to do, and then for CAPE, again, do the things that you're good at. I mean, I would never have picked French if I was picking subjects now. I got 24% in French in Form 2 and dropped it very, very quickly in Form 3. But at every stage, you have to, one, be able to enjoy it and take away something from it, learn something from it. Your time here in CIC, I look back on these days as my fondest days. And just remember that every step, whether it's in your career, in life, I'm married with 3 kids, and every day is more and more, I wouldn't say daunting, but different challenges, you know? So don't think of this as being the most insurmountable challenge, and when you pass it, because you all will, don't think that you've reached. There are more levels to climb, and that goes for your career as well, whatever career you'll choose. You know, don't ever sit on your laurels and think, I've conquered this, I can relax now, right? You keep pushing, and you keep fighting, and you keep doing your best.
Yeah, in terms of at Form 3, picking subjects, I know they might have some pressure from different areas. I will say, don't be pressured, right? Captain Griffith said it, JP said it, Paul said it. You know, you choose the subjects that you're comfortable with. You know, we would have given you all advice into certain things you could look at, right? So I'm saying some sciences, maybe a piece of business, a language, etc. If not, do whatever you're comfortable with. What we would say though is, whatever you do, put your best foot forward. Understand what is required for you to do your best. Granted, I'm saying to do your best. You may not get 100. You might get, do first class testimonial or something here? You say testimonials still? Testimonials. Huh?
Honor cards.
Honor cards, right. So you might not get honor cards, you might not get 100, you might not get an A. But what is going to be important is that once you know, you're doing your best, you're trying, you're doing what is required, studying, etc. That is all anybody could ask of you. Whatever you're doing CXC and CSEC, sorry, and then CAPE, you could go on and do your first degree in English and then switch after that, right? So there's not, whatever happens here is not going to chart in terms of subjects, is not going to confine you for the rest of your life. You will have ample opportunities. If it is you decide you want to switch courses, that is fine. What is going to be important though, is the attitude you use towards your work. That is going to be the most important thing. So to whatever you do. Captain Griffith.
Yeah, well, in summary of that, I mean, there's very little I could say more than what the other moderators have stated. As it pertains to my son, as you had asked the question, because of his personality, he was in St. Mary's College as well. I saw that as the best school, and I still will say that. I hope that you all will keep that degree of pride in your school, because what you're going to get out of the school is much more than just the passes and the subjects. It is much more. So I ask you that as much as you're selecting your subjects, remember that the character traits that you're getting from the school is going to develop you from being a young boy into a successful young man. As it pertains to my son, he is heavily involved in sport. In fact, he's right here in the USL, playing USL in Illinois. And sport, it may not provide you with you becoming a multimillionaire. At less than 0.1% of persons who play football actually make it big professionally. So it is very difficult. But if it is that you feel that the subjects that you want, look at what it is, as I said, that you are comfortable with, that you enjoy. You've got to do what you like. And if it is that you do that, you will be able to pinpoint eventually the career that you will feel comfortable with. Because sometimes so many people, they get boxed into subjects and they home into those subjects and then they home into getting a degree. And then after 15 years, they then realize this is not what I want in life. So there's no need to rush, but it is good at this time for you to start getting some foundation as to what the kind of person that you are, to know the type of subjects that you would like to assist you in your career in the future.
All right, we have any questions? More questions from the floor? Nothing you want to know? One for now.
My name is Caleb Prince. I want to know in depth what is you do in sports business. In sports business, some depth. And what is you do?
What do I do?
The specifics, yeah.
Specifics. That's a good question, but a hard question. So at Sport Company, title is, I work in the Partnerships and Alliances Department, which is essentially the business strategy, event management, project management. So we do a host of things. So on one day, we could be looking at the budget for an event or for a governing body of sport that has to plan for the year. The next day, we could be working with different partners to execute a major event in the country. So Sport Company has been involved in different events that you would have seen over the last couple of years, like the ICC Under-19. What you'll find happening is that the regional body, which in this case CWI, would work with the government. The government will say, okay, we're going to partner for this event. And then you'll have agencies in the government that will help in the execution of the event. So I've been involved in that a lot. I mean, I've worked on a couple football matches with Captain Griffith as well before. So it's a whole host of things. You know, sometimes you might have to deal with not only the local federations, but the international federations in the execution of different projects. So one of the things we're working on now, I don't know if you all have visited either the aquatic center or the cycling velodrome down in Couva. One of the things we're working on now is a partnership with the International Cycling Federation to have a development center in Trinidad and Tobago. What is that going to mean? Is that we're going to, create a system where we're going to get the right coaches, have the right infrastructure, so that anyone who's interested in really taking their cycling to another level, we could have it here so they don't have to go to Switzerland or any foreign country. The same thing we're going to be doing with the tennis center, and something that we're going to be doing with the aquatic center. The aquatic center as well. So it's just a host of things. We have the facilities. So Sport Company is responsible for several of the major facilities in the country. So it might involve dealing with somebody who wants to rent the facilities. It might be involved a sporting entity that wants to have an event or sporting event in the facilities, so working those out with them. So there's a host of different things. You'll find that in my day-to-day at Sport Company, I may not deal directly with things like agency and that sort of thing. The Sport Company is not responsible for that, but it's something that you would have interacted with at a different point in time in terms of You know, if an athlete wants to go away, so Captain Griffith just spoke about, you know, his son going to USL, you know, if he has an agent, working out all the ins and outs, the contracts, and so on. It's not something that I will deal with every day, but I'm exposed to it every so often because it's just the nature of the job. So I don't know if that gives you just an idea of what I do. It's something where no 2 days are the same, right? I could be called into a meeting to give my views on a contract. I could be called into a meeting to give my view on how to approach certain things, or if somebody has an idea. Oh, another thing too is sport tourism. I think you would hear the government talk a lot about sport tourism. That is also something that, you know, involved in, and that is essentially tourism through sport. How can we get more persons coming to Trinidad to want to see, you know, Trinidad and Tobago, to see the islands, but then also is through sport. And, you know, a lot of that will be through events and the facilities. So, you know, you find that you just get involved in a lot of different activities that are, you know, business and sport kind of married together. So, as I said, I don't know if that gives a little idea of what it is I do on a general basis. Sponsors, dealing with sponsors as well. We could talk about marketing, we could talk about sponsorship at a later date, and all that is required for that as well. That is also something that, you know, we will deal with from time to time.
All right, I got some questions for the students.
Excuse me,
Right, go
moderator?
ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just say a quick word here?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, going back to Mr. Schedule, notice that I keep piggybacking a lot with what he's saying, because I really want to stress the importance of sport. As much as I'm here explaining to you all about the importance and the value of being in the defense force or the police service or a politician, again, with sport, there's a major factor here as it pertains to sports scholarships. St. Mary's College was the be-all and end-all of football. I don't know if you're all aware, I think it's almost 50% of intercol trophies won is by St. Mary's College. How many we have won in the last few decades, not so much. But St. Mary's College has been really a pinnacle, a pillar as it pertains to sport. Whether it is hockey, St. Mary's College actually had a team that was playing championship division, hockey men, and as a school. So the point I want to tell is that if it is that you really want to excel in sport, sports scholarships also is an opportunity for you. So if you excel in football, hockey, basketball, track and field, this can also help your parents. Now, not everyone can get this, but you get a scholarship in North America or the United Kingdom or Europe based on the sport that you can excel in. Is going to save your parents hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And the opportunities are there. Again, going back to my son, when it is through St. Mary's College that he, and when he was on the national under-17 team, he was able to get a full football scholarship in the United Kingdom. And that helped a lot to get him onto the national senior team for the World Cup, the last World Cup. So this is just something you can also look at, understanding the importance of sport where scholarships can be provided, and through these scholarships in universities and so forth, because a lot of Trinidadian players get scholarships in North America in the colleges playing what they call soccer. And that can also help you in getting a proper degree without a lot of money being spent by your parents.
All right, we probably have time for one more, if we have one more burning question. Otherwise, I have a question for you all as panelists. Yeah, you all as panelists.
Joshua Guerra. What are the requirements to join the Army as an officer?
Question was, what are the requirements to join the Army as an officer?
Sorry, the Army and?
As an officer.
What is a bad audio there. Sorry. Requirements to join the Army and what?
As an officer.
Was an officer? Okay, sure. You require 5 O-level passes and then 5 passes, and then preferably if you could get a basic degree. And from there, that is when it just starts. But again, as I said with myself, there were 3,000 people who applied and they selected the top 5, 3 to go into the Army, where we then graduated in the United Kingdom from Sandhurst, and 2 into the naval aspect. So the first thing you need to get is 5 passes. And then if it is that you can get a basic degree, there's no specific type of degree, but that is the minimum qualification. But if it is that you want to get in the army out, and that is just to be a commissioned officer, where it is that you will then become an officer cadet and then second lieutenant, lieutenant captain, major, lieutenant colonel, colonel, and then you will see on the wall there in the Hall of Fame, Chief of Defense Staff such as Major General Ralph Brown and Brigadier General Joseph Theodore, who was also Minister of National Security. So that's a basic qualification to go into the army as a regular soldier. The requirements will not be as stringent, but again, from there you can actually move to become a commissioned officer.
All right, great. Okay, as we have a couple more minutes until the next group batch comes back, I have a question for you. You are the panelists right now. So my question to you is, guys, how many careers do you think you are going to have between now and when you retire? If you think you're going to have one career, put your hand up. If you think you might have 2 careers, put your hand up. If you think you might have more than 5 careers, put your hand up. How many of y'all would like to go and work for one company for your whole career? One company. Would you like to go and work in one company for the duration of your career? We have one. What age do you work up until? What age until 65? How old are you now? 16. How many years of work do you think you're going to have? How many years of work do you think you'll work? How much? Maths. Choose maths as for your subjects. Eh? About 40, maybe 40, 50, 60. It depends, because people are working a little bit later on as well. And the key thing is, more and more we're seeing people are changing careers. They definitely at least change jobs, change different companies throughout the course of their career. And that requires retraining sometimes, reskilling, because you're going to be doing something different. Many of us here on this panel have changed careers, some in pretty dramatic ways, into some very, very different careers. So that's one thing to think about. This is a career week, but it's not really for a career. In a sense, it's for your portfolio of careers that you could think of going forward. How many of you would believe that what you choose now for your subjects will definitely determine what your first career would be? How many of you believe that the CXC subject, the CSIC subject you choose now will definitely inform the first career that you choose? Yeah? All right. Very cool. Let me turn this question back over to the panelists now, and let me ask them a little bit about any guidance they want to give in terms of how people have to navigate multiple careers and shifts over time, and what they should expect going forward in terms of their careers. Maybe what the things you're seeing young people have to do at the bank, or within sports, or otherwise.
Just generally career-wise, I think I mentioned this earlier, things happen. You may be impacted by an experience, you may be exposed to a different way of doing things in a different job. And you might like it, you might pursue it and decide, you know what, I want to find out, I want to do this further. What you choose here is important, yes, but as I mentioned earlier, the key trait will be your application in terms of how do you deal with your work, you manage your time, you study, you put your best foot forward. Those character traits is what are going to take you forward to whatever career you choose. So I would say that it's not going to be the be-all and end-all. You may go down one path, and then you might just decide, I'm no longer motivated to do this one thing, and then you will find something else where you can dedicate your energy to and switch, and then determine what are the steps you need to take to do that. So I would say, don't feel bogged down, don't feel confined in terms of what it is you're choosing now is what you're going to be doing when you're 45 years old. It's not going to work like that. You're going to have multiple opportunities to switch and find something that you're good at, that you're comfortable with, that motivates you.
So what you choose here is not going to determine your career for the rest of your life. It may not determine your first job. What you choose here may not determine what you do at A-levels even. Well, sorry, at Cape now. But what my friend here said about being involved in sport, and different aspects of sport. One thing, that point sticks with me because one thing I've seen a lot in my field, I mean, I'm in my mid-30s, which is not considered old, generally. Maybe to you all, but generally not. I've seen a lot of guys come in, and I train a lot of people for counterterrorism, for hostage rescue. I train sniper teams, and one thing I see a lot of come in is they have a lot of guys that don't make it out of their 20s, either by they are killed in action or they are injured in action in a way that they can't recover from, or they can't do what they used to do. Even getting a little older, as you see, going from your 20s to your 30s to your 40s, there are different levels of physical health. Sometimes even in training, people might pick up training injuries. This kind of stuff, and it's heartbreaking for some persons who are what you call operators, people in the field, that they can't go back in the field because either because they're not capable or they're not cleared because of even mental health issues that come with this. Sometimes they're simply never cleared to go back in the field. However, it doesn't mean they can't help with training, with administration, with management, with different parts of their careers. I've seen some of the best people, some of the best operators you can imagine. Some people that look invincible, you think they're invincible. They're not, and when they realize they're not invincible, at that point, they need to have some kind of support. And in terms of the support that is given, it's really not much out there. But a lot of them go to, or some of them I would say, go to study in the field, and they go to do the more administrative aspects or support aspects, and to me that saves their career. So any career you go into, look at the wider picture. Look at everything else, look at everything surrounding exactly what you're doing. For example, you may not be the next Shaka Hislop, right? But it doesn't mean you can't manage a team, it doesn't mean you can't assist with training a team or bring people to that level. So anything you do, always look at every aspect of it to see where you could fit in should something not go the way you expect it to go.
So I agree with what they've said. What you study now is not going to directly impact your career, but how you study what you choose now and the passion that you put into what you do from now, whether it's at CXC, whether it's at A-levels, whether it's at university, the passion and the effort that you put in is what's going to give you that output and that satisfaction in life. So I've dealt with loans officers who came to me and said they feel like they're on the hamster wheel and they're not getting any satisfaction. And I looked at them and I said, but every day you make somebody's dreams come true. And they kind of looked at me with a blank expression as if I was, on something. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, when you give somebody a mortgage or when you give somebody a car loan, that is the house for their family. That's the car that they chose, that they want to drive. You are making their dreams come true. And when you look at what you do and how you do it, and you realize that it counts, it matters, it gives you a certain sense of satisfaction, it makes you happy, there's a certain level of utility. And so whatever subjects you choose, just do them well. Do it to the best of your ability and be fully satisfied with the job that you've done. At the end of the day, you don't want to look back and say, shoulda, woulda, coulda, could have done better. So just do it with passion, do it with zeal, do it with drive.
All right, Captain Griffith, last thoughts before we wrap up?
As I close, again, if you do not get involved in something so much to please others. As a commissioner of police, sometimes it was the most grateful position you could have, being a police officer. Imagine during COVID, when you lost 30 officers who died from COVID, and then you still have some certain elements in the public attacking you. So try to do something and expect that when you do it, you're going to get praise and you're going to get rewards. It has to be something that you like. And at this time, at your age, do not be too concerned that you have not pinpointed that this is the exact position I want. At this time, you will start getting the gist of it. And with all the persons on this panel, you can look at security with Paul. You may like the concept of security, but it has so many different aspects in it. It could be involved in running a security company, dealing with aspects of car retrieval and so forth. In banking, it can vary from customer service to loans to forensic auditing. In sport, you can want to be a sportsman, and then unfortunately, heaven forbid, you may get an injury that will end your career. But because you still like sport, you can get into sports management, sports psychology, training, coaching, and so forth. And then similar to the military. The military, there are so many different things. You might say, listen, I want to be in the defense force. And then there's the engineer battalion, and then the police with cyber crime, special forces. So now is not the time that you feel that time is running out. Do not panic. But now is the time, what is being done here by the school is to give you some type of framework to guide you along where you feel that you will want to be in the very near future, because the subjects that you choose can very well play a big part towards your direction. And if you do that, just make sure that it is something that you enjoy, you're comfortable with, and you get that sense of satisfaction to know that I did the best in this field.
Excellent. Thank you very much, guys. If you could just give a round of applause to the panel. In particular, I do also want to recognize Captain Griffith. He's in Chicago with his son who's playing football out there professionally, taking the time for an hour on a Zoom call to be with you all today. I really much appreciate it. And the guys for coming in person. Thank you. All right, so everybody else is walking here right now, guys. Thank you very much. Everybody else is walking here right now from the other one. We're just going to have a very quick wrap up. We have a few more prizes to hand out. A quick vote of thanks, and we do need some help just to move the chairs out so that the exam tables can come back in before you leave, yeah? So let's just give it a couple of minutes.
Rare events. We really do hope that you guys learned a lot, that you got to ask the questions that you wanted, and that you feel a sense of calm that while this is an important decision that you have to make, this decision isn't so critical, and that you always have more options. Lots of people came together to make today a reality and to make this week a reality. There's lots of work, lots of planning, and we want to spend a few minutes just giving thanks to the different people. So the committee that puts this together is two primary committees. So the Past Students Union and then the Parent Teachers Support Group. So we want to give a moment to say thanks to those two units for coming together to put this together. We also have, so within that, James leads the Student Support Association of Services, and that is the subsection of the Past Students Union that does all these kinds of activities, focused not on raising funds, but focused on you guys as students. So we want to thank James and that committee for putting this together. We had parents who came to help arrange and fill all the different gift bags that you guys have been putting together today. We had the Sea Scout troops, my troop, 6th Trinidad Sea Scouts, who pulled some boys, and we want to thank them for their efforts putting together these bags. What? Oh, the tea plates. So we want to thank the parents for putting together the tea plates that we have as well. So we have the sponsors who are responsible for all the eats, drinks, and goodies that you guys get, and the gifts that we gave to our guests who came to speak. So we want to thank them as well. We want to thank the technical staff who are responsible for the videos that you got before, but also ensuring that we can hear each other today and in the back. Before we thank the boys, are we missing anyone else? School administration, staff. And then lastly, all of this is for you guys. We hope that you guys got what you wanted, but many of you asked questions, so shortly we're going to do awards. I want to thank you guys for coming, approaching it with the sense of interest, asking interesting questions, also asking some very pointed questions, how you get your FUL. So we want to thank you guys for coming, bringing your parents, and approaching this with the attitude that you should have. So thank you guys for being here today on a Saturday. Now the awards. All right.
Before the awards, though, I want to give a very, very special thanks one more time to the parents from the PTSG, especially Nicole, Mrs. Panton, and Mrs. Headley. Thanks to them. Big round of applause. They did a lot of work putting together this event today. All right.
Sorry, I just have one more thanks, and Greg was the project manager for this, led it from end to end, so I just want you all to give Greg a big round of applause. Yeah.
All right. So a lot of you all asked a lot of really good questions today. We run out of prizes to give to everybody. First we have awards. First we have people who ask questions. So what I would recommend is if you hear your name and you win an award, share it with your brethren, share it with your partners, all right? Okay. So, and we're not going in any particular order, we just get naming names. So the first award will go to Donovan Jones. Yeah? Well, he was outside networking. Donovan was walking around talking to every single presenter and asking them for their name, their contact number, all kind of thing to get in contact with them later on. So Donovan will get a prize there. Jaden Marcus. Jaden here? Wait, everybody going over? All right. Your prize might get, oh no, look him there. All right, Jaden. All right, next we have Michael Amon. Oh, look, Donovan. You're Michael Amon? Come, you gotta move quick. Michael Amon. How many more? Okay. We have Aidan Mukram. And lastly, okay, we can give a white to yeah, we have, yeah. Okay, a black one. All right, I called Zion Batiste earlier. Zion Batiste, where? Archibald. I didn't get your first name. Archibald. All right, there. Yeah. Good job, Archibald. Archibald, what's your first name? Micaiah. Micaiah Archibald. Wait, you didn't get... Yeah, he was here. All right. Well, those are the main prizes, but again, everybody, really, really good job asking questions, staying engaged. I know the speakers appreciated it, so thank you for coming, and I have nothing more to say.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Give yourselves a round of applause for your participation. Mr. Roger.